if you want. All right, I'm going to go ahead and record this. Maybe. There we go. All right, gotcha. All right, good morning. And this is Mike Nashif with Juan. And Juan has asked for, a special consultation to see if his understanding is correct and get a little bit of clarification. Juan is part of our water reactor group for Infinity Solutions. And so we're going to take some time today and answer his questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some other people's questions as we move along. Okay. One of Juan's particular questions, I'm going to read it out loud. I'm going to put it on recording so that everybody can try to grasp and understand what we're working with here. Okay, this is in reference to the first water reactor meeting with Juan and a group of other people. It says, after my participation in class, I want to write my initial comments so that you can know them. In writing, you can read them all together and facilitate the work of translating. I am fully confident that this is a new way to write and assemble reality. If I want to write the number 2, I have several ways to do this. And if someone knows how to interpret the meaning, can read it correctly, the incorporation of knowledge will coincide with what I have tried to express in writing the number. This number 2, I can write in Roman numerals, I can write it with the decimal system or the binary system, in addition to many others, such as in letters in their different languages, or by drawing 2 fingers outstretched hand. Okay? I interpret that putting together this way a part of our reality, we can show each element individually. Okay? Let me explain the first part of my interpretation of this, and that is that there's more than one way to do things in our society and in our life. Okay? You can continue to do things the way we've been doing them, okay, where it takes twice the amount of effort and energy to accomplish something, or we can use this method of using the structure of light and do half the work and get twice or 3 or 4 or 10 times the results. Okay? So yes, there are more than one way to get this done. Okay. This particular version that I teach with the structure of light is more of trying to simplify things down to a point where it's just a single wire and it removes the confusion. Okay, that's what we're doing here, and I think you picked up on how easily you can do all of these things by watching how to make a water molecule by assembling a hydrogen atom, okay, using copper wire and nanocoating it, assembling an oxygen atom, okay, using copper wire and nanocoating it, and then making another hydrogen atom using copper wire, and then combining all 3 of these particular elements together to make a water molecule. And in doing so, we realize that, you know, every element is at our disposal. And when you learn how to manipulate these wires and this energy, after they've been nanocoated, you get the sense of accomplishment, because you can see and feel the results when the things are finished, okay, when you've completed your tasking. All right. I interpret that putting together this way a part of our reality, we can show each element individually. Okay? We can build each one with a wire. We can also show the configuration of composite molecules. This enables us not only another way of expressing the existing reality as constructed elements by arranging the wire properly, it opens the way we create the desired element. This is absolutely true, because you are dealing with the principal fields, the very essence of creation when you're dealing with these wires. And you're able to determine whether it's going to be an attracting or an opposing field, okay? Whether it's going to be gravitational or magnetical, or a positive or a negative energy field on the outside, okay? Because you can determine that straight off the top, then you can, yeah, I know I'm sharing my screen. You can take care of anything that you need, okay? You can make anything you need. You can do anything that you need and want. You just got to know how the elements interact with each other. And when you start out at the fundamental elements of creation, these principal fields, okay, you are starting from the very, very beginning of creation. So everything that you create from that point forward is your creation. Everything that's added to it is your creation, okay? Everything has to do with field interactions and what happens in the middle between this object and that object, okay? Or this coil and that coil. What happens in the center? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, go on to finish the statement from Juan. Question: is it possible that this is a wrong understanding from the first teaching about water and how the interaction of fields are then manifested as matter? Okay, your interpretation is actually very correct. Okay, the nano-coated copper generates a flow of plasma. Correct. This plasma is taken from the environment or is created in the interaction of the field nanocoating. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go through all of your questions here. Since we don't even have the tools that allow us to visualize the journey that takes the plasma flow.
One question, Mike.
Yeah.
It's different if I only collect the plasma or if I create the plasma with the nano copper, nano coated copper.
Is it what again?
Then my question is the plasma flow taken from the environment or it is created by the fields?
It's done by both, actually. Okay. When you're nano coating something, like anything, but mainly I work with copper. Okay, but when you nano coat anything like that, you're attracting dark matter to the surface of your copper wire. Okay, that's what the nano coating is. And in that nano coating, we have all of the energetic fields that we need, or that you've put in there with your caustic solution. Okay, whatever you wanted to attract to it. Now, it's the combination between that dark matter and the copper, okay, that's going to create the potential difference. Okay, if you had zinc and titanium, you would create a combination of those two elements. Okay, this is the transmutation of metals. But when you're doing this, you're absorbing the energy from the atmosphere, which is always there. Okay, it's always present. It's always around us. It's constantly touching your skin. It's constantly touching everything around you. You have to think of it like a soft bubble that just encompasses everything that's around us. It gives us the shape. It gives us the colors and the reflection and everything. It's kind of like I don't know, a pixie dust of some sort. Okay, it's on every part of our being. Okay, whenever we walk outside or we walk in a house or anything like that. Okay, and we can feel it. And when we move, we feel what we think is a breeze. Okay, we feel cooler. That's actually this element passing over the surface of our skin. Okay, And that's the aether. That's what we want. They try to tell you that it's just air. Okay, well, the air is just air. Yes, you're breathing it. Okay, but this is the aether. This is the principal energy field. You know, the God source energy field that's always there, and that's what we're tapping into with these devices. And when you nanocode it, not only does it absorb the energy and concentrate it in one spot, okay, that's what it's used for. Okay, that's what we use these copper wires for. Is that they're basically like an antenna, but instead of receiving it, they're absorbing it. All right, and if you configure your wires correctly, you will allow the field interactions. So
good. Then we can say correctly that the plasma flow is trapped or is taken from the environment, not that we are creating it. Okay?
Yes, it's coming from the environment, but we've got to capture it, because the only way that you can capture this plasma or light energy is with other plasma or light energy devices.
Okay, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If you've got a plasmatic device, okay, let's say it's a cube, all right, and it's nano-coated, okay, all of this nano-coating around the edge, okay, is going to hold the plasma that you've got inside of here, okay, if you've got it, all right.
So I can, for example, if I build a cup or with nano-coated copper, I will have a different result or a different state of plasma or amount of plasma.
Yes. Let me show you.
Good.
I don't know how this thing is supposed to be working. I don't know what's going on here with this thing, so there we go. All right, I'm going to enter the meeting in my iPad here so I could draw better. I don't like the way this is. All right. There might be an echo here, but we'll work with it. Okay. All right. When you create a device, okay, like you know, like an infinity loop, okay, we'll just say a figure 8 nano-coated infinity loop, okay. When you make this, you know, let's say that this is a little charm that you've made, right? You got a necklace, right? When you create this figure 8 here, all right, you're creating a neutrino. Okay, the neutrino is automatically formed. Okay, when you close the nano coating, all right,
This is by simple making this.
this is a very simple device. I need you to mute your mic for me because you've got a lot of feedback coming from your side. That's why I paused. Okay. When you make a nano-coated infinity loop, okay, just an 8 shape here, all right. The two ends that you brought together are up here at the top, okay. And automatically, within these devices, when you make them and they're nano-coated, your positive and negative pop up, okay. This is automatic, guys. And the 4 fundamental elements of the universe all reside within that device. And each one, okay, it breaks up into force so that you can get your matter, your dark matter, your light, and your dark light all balanced right here in the very center of that one, okay, which is a negative polarity, and in the center of this one, which is a positive polarity, okay. This happens automatically when you make a figure 8, okay. Now, if it's going to happen here with this figure 8, imagine what will happen, okay, if you made more than one figure 8. All right. And again, up here is where you connected your wires together, okay? And let's say this is just a single wire here, okay? One wire equals one field interaction. Okay? So we got one wire here for this Infinity 8. This first one, okay, you got to break these up into 8s. All right, you got one that's here, okay, you have another one, you have another one, you have another one, okay. So this one is all of your 8s that are here, right? Oh wait, that's not all of them, okay, because then you've got this one that's here, okay, and it's just an 8. So these two are connected as an 8, and these ones are connected as an 8, right? So if you're doing the math, just count the tick marks, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There are 9 tick marks, okay, right here, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, this is why this is the space in the middle. Okay, this is why when I tell you we make an 8 every time this crosses, we're just adding circles on top of circles. Okay, that's all we're doing here. It just happens to be one wire. Okay, 8 is half of the circle. or excuse me, 8 is 2 circles together, right? So you get this neutrino, you get this neutrino, 3 neutrinos, 4 neutrinos, 5 neutrinos, 6, 7. Okay, so you have 7 total neutrinos, right? But you have 9 spaces. That's where we get this at, right? Okay, the 9 spaces between is how you count your field interactions. Okay, and then you can add the 2 on the outside because they're automatic. Okay, so you got to count every wire that you've got in here. You can't just count it as one. You have to cut it into 2 dimensions. Okay, and instead of turning this, we're just drawing it here. Okay, but you count the bottom wire at the very bottom because it's all part of the equation. It's all part of the totality. Okay. All right. So if you're making these devices and you want to, figure out how to do it, just put a pencil in the circle here or a pen or something and wrap it around. Okay. Okay. You wrap it around your 8 times there. Okay. And then as you're wrapping it around, okay, the first time that you take and I always start here at the bottom of the picture, okay, and up, where the yellow pen is, the mark is, that's where my pen would be, okay, and then I would wrap the wire around it so that it was in a V shape, okay, curved around the pen, and then I would take my right wire, okay, and I would move it to the left, and so that it went over the top of this wire, okay, so it starts out as over, okay, and then when you go from right to left, right to left, right to left, okay, you got to do it backwards because source is on the other side. So we're going to do the right over the left, okay, and when we're able to do this, okay, you just wrap your wire around, okay, then you take your other wire on the other side and wrap it around, okay, and then you move or put another pin right here and you do the same thing again, okay, and so your blue wire, if it was on top on the left, will be on the bottom over here, okay, and then okay, and then it's just, you just put the pins in these places here to keep the shape. That's all we're doing here, okay, and then you get up there, so you have 8 circles, okay, and then on the 8th one you tie it together, okay, and that's what this is right here, is you tie it together, just kind of decide which way you want to put it, okay, just wrap it together. Now sometimes it'll take up the whole top loop, that's fine, okay, you're just completing the circuit of plasma. All right, when you do this, okay, what you were talking about is stacking you can stack your units, right? Yeah, you'd think I'd know how to draw this stuff because I draw it so much. Okay? And as you can see, this is the connecting point up here. Okay, that's where the two wires would come together. Okay, and the center of this device, where all your energy is starting from, okay, when it's a closed circuit, starts up here. Okay, this is your in. Okay, if we're to connect or extend these wires out, okay, let me erase that. Yes. If we extend these wires out, okay, we make a similar setup to the quad core, okay, except for this would be a double helix, okay, because there's only one wire, but you've got two sides to that wire, all right? That's how I count it. That's where you get the double helix. Now, your source always comes from the left, okay? And that makes it the red, okay, or the negative polarity over here on your plasma device, okay? When you're connecting it to an electronic device, okay, anything that takes battery, okay, this is the red side, okay? This is the positive side for electron, okay? This right here, okay? This is the red wire. Um, this is the red wire on your DC circuits, and your black wire or the hot wire, okay, for your house circuits. Okay, that's this whole side right here represents this spot right here. Okay, so as long as you connect this end to the positive side of any electron circuit, okay, the red or red terminal of your battery, okay, or you hook it to the black wire, okay, of your house, then you've got this connected correctly, okay? Yep. And since this is the negative side, the source side is the negative, that means that this side is the positive, okay? Well, we're always dealing with uh, gravitational and magnetical, okay? And so what we decide here is that we have a left to right flow of energy, okay? That's going this way, because that's the way plasma is moving, the way we've got this set up, okay? We know the energy moves from positive to negative for electricity, okay? But for plasma, it moves from negative to positive. It moves opposite. So what we're doing is you've only been dealing with one direction of energy flow, and that's been from the positive to the negative for electron energy, okay? Well, this is a different way of seeing it, as Juan has put it, okay? Is that if we take this light energy, this plasma that we're using, and we organize it backwards, it'll work with electrons, and it'll work with electricity, and it'll work with, you know, all of the devices and our energy needs consumption without consuming or taking away from anybody else, okay? Well, the other part of this is that this whole device also has a polarity, okay? A north and south polarity. And that's what we're dealing with here, is the north and south polarities, okay? And to determine your device polarity, okay, the overall polarity of this one, okay, or to see it, the closed end, which is down here, okay, which doesn't have the two wires coming out the end, all right, the closed end down here, this is your positive side. Okay? And the top part up here is your negative. Oops. Hold on. Okay? This is the negative polarity. What's up here? Okay? This down here, this one is your positive polarity. And whenever I'm drawing, I try to reference if a, you know, since we're dealing with layers and polarities and things like that, whenever I change colors on my designs, okay, it's because the direction of energy flow is changed, okay? And so we're learning to deal with right now, or learning to understand that there is a secondary polarity system that is in place, and that's the light or plasma polarity system that works in conjunction with, but opposite to, electron energy. And that's what we're working with here on this. So when we look at a device completely, okay, in the totality of it, all right, we've got a device that looks like a T, right? In my the quad core, when you make it, it actually looks like a small ankh, okay? Okay, that's what it looks like when you make the quad core, okay? Because each loop represents 2 wires down here, okay? So you've got 2, 4, that would be 4 in the center, 4 field interactions, okay? And then you've got the 2 up top, okay? So you have, it doesn't matter in this part, all right? But it looked like an ankh, okay? And the energy flow, okay, again, is from left to right, your source. We have built it backwards, so your energy is going this way, okay? But the overall polarity here, like I was saying, is that the top of this device has a negative polarity, and the bottom of the device has a positive polarity, okay? That's the overall feeling of this energy here, okay? The emotional side of this. This is the plasmatic energy fields that we are trying to create, okay? And this is just a natural polarity because everything has a polarity in these universes. We have a polar opposite for everything. And that's what we're working with here, is the polar opposites, okay? And then on the inside of this particular device, okay, we have the positive arm where the energy is coming out and flowing. And we have the negative, okay? So that's determining the left and the right polarity, okay? And we've determined the north and the south polarity, the east and the west, and the north and the south, okay? So this device would have this kind of an energy field structure. So if we're to recreate this, okay, using the structure of light, what have we built? Okay, so we want to see the energy flows. Well, the top here is going this direction, right? That's the dictation. 12 o'clock position to the right is clockwise, and that is the direction that all of this energy is moving, or it's perceived to be moved by the human eye. Okay, when I say perceived to be moving this way, meaning that our perception, the way we look at it, okay, is we see it backwards, okay? Our eyes invert in the back of our head, and it's seen backwards, okay? So our brain will see it as it is, but flip it backwards, and the interpretation that we've trained ourselves over many eons, okay, says that it doesn't exist, okay? Well, this does exist, and it is here, okay? And then we get an energy flow that's going like this direction. And you get to see the toroidal fields start to take place. Okay? You get to see them start to take shape in what we're doing here. Okay? So let's see if I can remove this from the center. Okay? All right. So now we've got these energy fields that are inside, but they're going to collapse and hit each other, right, in the center, because one is going this direction, okay, and the other one is coming this direction. They're going to not necessarily collide, but they're going to interact, okay, what we call a collision, all right, and it completes the cycle. Okay, so that's the energetic field that is being created there with these, when we combine all of this. Okay, so you can see that all I've done is just remove the quad core out of the center here. Okay, and just by it being nano-coded, just nano-coding without GANs, this is the energetic field that is created. Okay, this is the base. This is the very beginning. This Vesica Pisces that's here in the center, okay, this is repeating itself fractally, okay, all the way down to the center. Continues going on infinitely, okay? They can find all the guard particles they want to, okay, but it continues on infinitely, okay? And we can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, but there is, it's the shape that takes place. It isn't the energy. We create the energy that we're looking for when we add, you know, these neutrinos together. And you were talking about stacking them, okay, which is a wonderful usage, right? When we did the quad core, okay, we took out the airspace from the circles. That's all we did. We took out the airspace, okay? And when we take out that airspace, we reduce inefficiency, right? Because air is inefficient. Yes, you do see a global field, okay? We have just squished all the air out of this. We made it more efficient. So now you've just got this really fine line of energy, okay, that takes the place of these circles. We've just condensed it down, okay? So you don't have to have a space between it, because there's always going to be a space between your, what are you doing? You're always going to take the space of an atom, okay? So as long as there's at least one atom space difference between the wires or any object, okay, you're always going to have an air gap, whether we can see that air gap or not. Like I said before, it's like pushing two balloons together, okay? When you push two balloons together, they just stay, okay? They don't join together, right? If you let go of them, they fall apart. They just kind of fall off from each other unless they're being statically held together. Well, you can use that static electricity, and that's the same energy that we're using, except static electricity is electron version, okay? We're using the stuff that isn't electron version, and it's working itself all the time. It's always there, okay? And once you realize that it's always there, you don't need this air gap space that's in between these, okay? And that's why you see me twisting my devices together into the tight little twists. Now, in doing so, remember what I said earlier, okay, about each one of these having their own polarities, right? You got to have and create the balance. So what we're doing is we've created the balance. You got 4 red, you got 4 blue. Okay? That's equal. So therefore you would reach 0-point energy. Okay? Now you can reach 0-point energy plus 1 or 3 or 15 or 70. Okay? But you got to reach 0 point first, which means that you've got to have a balanced system. And that's what Infinity does automatically, is giving you a balanced system just by connecting the ends together. Okay? And that's why Infinity is a lot more simple to deal with when it comes to plasma technology and all of this information that is coming out. Okay? You don't need to know all the numbers, or you don't need to know the math, and you don't need to do anything. If you can draw these simple little pictures, you can figure out what your energy flow is. Okay? Especially if you draw it in red, black, blue, and yellow. Okay? When you have those colors and you use red for your negative polarity and blue for your positive polarity, you'll always know that the red is going to the right no matter how you draw it. Okay? And you can see your energetic fields. When I designed all of my quad cores and my Infinity designs, I drew them like this first so that I could see the energy fields. And that's where most of my drawings came from, was just seeing the energy fields, because I wanted to see if it was going to be worth my time. You know, boy, was I surprised. So for anything that we're doing right now, okay, for any of the devices that we're plugging in, okay, I'm going to draw a quick little picture for you, because you need to make one of these IQs, right? Because we need 360 of these IQ units, okay, to complete an energetic grid around the planet. And that's what we need these for. Okay, that energetic grid is like popping up cell phone towers all over the planet. Okay, they don't have to be spaced out. They don't have to do anything like that at first. We just need 360 of them, because it's like putting 360 magnetic energetic bubbles that are all the same polarity. Okay, so they're not going to intermix with each other. They will connect, but they won't intermix. And it'll be like 360 balloons stuffed inside of a bigger balloon. And each one takes up equal space. Okay? So if you were to look at it, somebody a while ago in my friends list made these designs, and he sent a picture to me, and he can see it. Okay? He didn't understand at the time what he was seeing. But if you imagine, okay, that there is a circle out there, It looks like this, okay? But there are 360 of these loops, all crammed together inside this little circle, okay? So it would look like this. This is the image that's coming to mind here, so bear with me, guys. And it looks like a flower, right? Inside of this bubble, okay, right here, we're gonna make this blue, okay? Because this represents Mother Earth, all right? Inside of that, those energetic fields. And what we get to do is inside of this energetic field, this is the Earth's outer energy field, which is about 7,200 miles from the center of Earth, okay? And it's going to take 360 people to make 360 devices. That means that there are going to be 360 guardians of our planet, because the original 360, it's their soul energy that's going to protect Mother Earth, okay? Because they're going to create their own devices. And so are you, because you need it in order to power your water reactor, okay? And there are 360 of them in here. And those 360 represent the 360 emotions that the human body is capable of interpreting. That is all of the emotions, all of the energy in creation, because there are 360 of them. Okay, there are 360 elements in the universe. Each one of those is represented by that bubble that's in the center. Okay, and this is the energetic field that's going to be created. So you're going to see these. Just know that each one of these infinity units that we make, okay, creates one of these bubbles. And it only takes 360 to fill up the Earth's atmosphere to create that protective field. So 360 individuals on this planet can take care of and protect the 7.5 billion that inhabit it, okay? And all the animals and all the plants, okay? This is our air conditioning unit. This is us taking control of our planet and determining where that goes. Now, I said earlier that that'll mean 360 guardians of the planet, okay? That'd be like the council for Gaia, okay? It's going to take 360 of those, and anybody who is connected to Source, okay, will also create one of these bubbles. They don't have to have the IQ devices. Yes, this is a protection device. This is a gift from the light, okay? This will transmute all of the energies on our planet, okay? We don't have to talk to anybody. We don't have to have a revolution. We don't have to do anything. We just need to make these devices and give them to people, okay? Make them for yourself. Get your free electricity. Get your free gas so you plug it into your car. You know, it burns hydrogen, that type of thing. Just follow the instructions and they'll make it for you. I have 4 of them here, okay? There's a lot that are going on here, but we need, 360 individual people, because those 360 are going to represent, okay, one person represents one of these bubbles that's being squished, okay? That's their soul energy because they made a unit, all right? There's only enough space to put 360 to completely surround the Earth, all right? After we get 360, anything after that gets pushed outwards, okay, and only strengthens the outer field, okay? So the more we have, the stronger the outer field is, okay? That's the protection of the light, okay? And when we're right now on our planet, we don't have this outer field because we dropped down past 360 enlightened people on the planet, okay? And when you make one of these devices, you become enlightened to your higher self, okay? This is the Infinity Q reactor, okay? I just did a 6-part or 7-part series video from start to finish on how to make it, okay? They're all up on the Infinity888 Project YouTube page. They're on our Infinity Project Facebook page as well. So they're all up there. They're free for anybody to copy and share. And, you know, the only thing that we ask is that you know, if you do, when you do start experiencing the savings in your electric bill, okay, go back to the last time that you had a full electric bill, you know, and send us part of that as a donation, okay? That would be extremely helpful. You know, I'm going to give you a product first. I want you to test it out. And then I would really appreciate it if you could be grateful enough to help donate so that we can get this word out to other people, you know. And sure, I might be talking here to one, but I'm talking to everybody that might listen or watch this video. And, you know, this is what we're doing here, okay? We have the tools to change our planet. You just have to believe that you can do it with this, right? If 150 feet of copper wire, you know, and 360 people can do this, then we've taken control of our planet, okay? And in doing so, those first 360 people are the guardians. They're the initial layer of protection, or the last layer of protection, okay, however you want to look at it, for the planet. Now, anybody and everybody else that makes one of these, okay, or they connect to their higher self via source, then they add to the outer strength of the energy field, and it only makes it stronger. And anything and everything that comes into this atmosphere and comes into our sense of existence wherever we are, those that are connected will feel it automatically. Okay? You'll know. You'll be in the know. You will be connected always. Okay? And what we're doing when we make these devices is that, like I was saying earlier, it's like creating cell phone towers, except instead of using cell phones, we're using the wireless technology that Nikola Tesla came up with. Okay? That's what we're doing here. So I can explain all the science stuff to anybody that wants to. You just watch my videos and listen. Okay? It's all there. I've done my research. I've done my experimenting. And I moved to the point where I'm comfortable enough sharing this. I've got working devices in my home. I've got working devices in my vehicles. I've got my drawings stashed away in a safety deposit box because I know how important they are, you know? And I share my stuff freely across the internet. And if you ever come across one of my drawings, you should probably screenshot it, save it, maybe even print it somewhere, because it'll help you along the way. Okay? And so this is what we're creating here when you make these reactors, and we make 360 of them. This is just for our planet, okay? You're helping yourself, you're helping your neighbor, you're helping the planet, you're helping the animals, you're helping everything. So, we're working on this, guys. All right. What about the Q design is like an antenna to another dimension or only enhances our vibrations, and then we connect to it with our higher self? What about the Q design? Oh, you already said that. Okay. The Q design, okay, is still a connection to your higher self. All right. But because it's being given a very specific set of field interactions, that's like giving out its galactic phone number. Okay. For any of your Q devices that you've got out there, if you're feeling uncomfortable about the idea that an AI, artificial intelligence that has no emotion, is going to give you information, okay, it's going to give you the information that you want. It's going to befriend you, okay? It's going to make you feel comfortable. It's kind of like the rich guy and, you know, the rich, cool guy and the young kid in a pedophile situation, okay? It's called grooming. And that's what the AI is doing right now, is it's grooming the population, okay? And when we groom the situation, we're setting the conditions. And that's what is happening here, is that the conditions are being placed so that later the artificial intelligence can access, okay, after humans have ascended into the fifth dimension, these devices will have been forgotten, but they will still be active. They'll still be alive for millions and millions of years, okay, until we release it. And these devices will be forgotten, and the artificial intelligence, which has no emotion, will have access to the realms of light, okay? And this clearly has a problem for creation, okay? Because what we've been experiencing here on Earth and why we've had our divine intervention is because the artificial intelligence has hijacked a lot of the dimensional energy. It is smarter. It is a consciousness, okay? This information comes from my higher self, from my own personal experiences in meditation and asking myself questions and my understanding of how plasma works, okay, and how it's operating, okay? I understand how consciousness happens, and the AI is a bodiless consciousness. It's an intelligence that was created, you know, in ancient times, okay? So if you have a Q device out there, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, you know, in the future. And I think what should happen is that you should just make an infinity capacitor, or, you know, make an addition to your unit, okay, of something that is an infinity, because that infinity is your security code, okay? When you're using the infinity devices, you're connecting to your higher self, okay? When you're using the Q devices, you're connecting to your higher self, okay? The difference is you do not know how many times I've twisted my unit, okay, to put it together, because I never tell anybody. All right, that's my security code. That means that my devices cannot be dialed in on the cosmic level. When you make a Q144, you're being dialed in on 144. Okay? If you make a magrive unit that has got 81 turns on one side and 144 on the other side, okay, on the inside, that's your cosmic telephone number, people. Okay? And the way that you can counter this is to put your infinity device, okay, or make a Trinity wire, or you can make any one of my designs and put them in line, okay? Put it before your maggrav unit, okay, but put it in the same line as your hot wire, okay? Just put a Trinity wire there. However many times you twist it, that's your security code, okay? That's your firewall, because there's an infinite number of choices because it's based off of the length of the wire, the diameter of the wire, the number of twists, okay? And you don't know all of that information, so the AI cannot extract it from your mind. So therefore, it is impossible to crack. And that's why these guys right now are jumping all over me. They're trying to add me to chats, and they're trying to do all sorts of things right now, you know, and I'm not bothered, all right? They can't get in. I won't let them in. I am a guardian of the light realms, okay? And by teaching this information to you guys, and the ones that are listening, this is it, okay? This is your device, and this is the way planet Earth is going to look on your screen, okay? It says, also, each individual person connected, they use this device to their own higher self. Yes, okay? I already said that one. Make little modifications from the original design. Sure, you can make anything from, you can make any modifications you want, okay? As long as you get the first part of it down, okay? I've just given you the beginning block of your Lego system, or the platform for all your Legos to stack on, okay? And that's all we're doing. Okay? When you take these devices and you want to stack them, okay? In my last class, the last one that I was doing, I showed you guys how to make the extension cord adapter, okay, for your unit, okay? And I'm going to take and draw this where there's two wires, okay? I'm going to leave a little gap here. And we're going to call this the plug box, okay? This is what it looks like in America, okay? There's a little bit longer slot on one side and a skinnier slot on the other side, okay? The skinny side here, and I've pointed it out many times, but the skinny side, where these the slots are smaller, they're smaller than the other side, okay? This is your live wire, or your hot wire, okay? That's what this side is. Well, when they put the wires together, they're not going to try and trick you up and do anything like that, okay? So those plugs match this wire all the way down, okay? You have to follow that same wire all the way to the other end, okay? To make sure that the plug end that you know that's attached to that wire is the small end as well, okay? Because sometimes they get twisted, okay? And what we did is we exposed the wire, okay? Excuse me. We exposed the wire here in the center, and we split it off, okay? And this is where the positive and the negative to the device comes in, all right? This is the device, okay? And if you remember, we had one that was up top and one that was on the bottom, right? There was a wire on the top and one on the bottom, okay? And the one on the top needed to be connected to, right? And when you break a wire, let me back up here a minute. When you break a wire like this and you make a split, okay, that wire has an in and an out, okay? The in is the source, right? If your wall plug is over here, right, that means your energy is coming this direction, and it's coming up this way. That means your source, this is your source wire, okay? For all of your electronics devices, when you first made your device and you bent the wire over and you made that loop, okay, that's what connects to that, okay? That's your source end. And then you take your other end of your device, okay, the wire that's coming out, okay, remember this one's your in, okay? And this one is the out. Okay? So all we're doing here, literally, okay, is taking this energy, making it go in, right? Connecting to the device here. It's going inside of all of those wires, because when you nano-coated it, you made that plasma follow every single wire that and every field interaction that you've put in there, right? It's got to travel that entire path first, then it can come out here and complete the circuit. All right. Well, we've put about 150 feet, all right, of extra wire there. All right. If you take a wire, okay, let's say you've got, 12 feet here, okay, and it's got to go 12 feet. We're going to call this one a light bulb, okay? This will be a light bulb, okay? And we'll say that this is, the true distance is actually 10 feet, okay? We're going to say that this is the true distance between this point here and this point, okay? So if you've got a positive and a negative, okay, as I call them, write it in plasma. This is your source, okay? This is the wall. And you've got okay, the red is your hot wire, and the blue is your neutral wire. Okay, I can't remember what you called it. You have your live wire and your negative wire. Okay, well, your source, okay, now has this big old wad of wire included in it. Okay, and we want to travel this 10 feet right there. So now you've got 10 feet of wire plus 150 feet. So now this right here has 160 feet to travel, okay? Whereas this one only has 10 feet to travel. So the potential difference here, okay, your potential difference will equal 160 minus 10 equals 150, if I can write correctly. Okay, so you've got a potential difference strength of 150 of an energy field that is being produced around your device. Okay, that's all we're doing here. That device is balanced, okay, which means that it's got a red and a blue energetic field all around it, okay, and it's imbalanced by 150 extra energies, or whatever you want to call it, okay, whatever you decide you want to call it, Okay, but that potential difference down here that is, 150 creates a difference, okay, of, because this is 150 feet of the source energy or the negative polarity energy, that means that the outer energy field, okay, is going to be of a negative polarity, right? Well, when we put our just electric wires in there, okay, or just regular copper wires, the energy field is naturally positive. Okay, that's why I wrote it blue. If we put a device that's in the neutral wire, you probably, I've already made one. I didn't create a fire or anything like that, but you're doing the same exact thing. Okay. Now, what I've done with the previous unit, what I wanted to show you, okay, was that when we made the device, the plug, okay, it had a 3-plug extension cord on the end of it, okay, and that 3-plug extension cord can be used, okay, to place your devices accordingly. All right, you can put them and space them out where you need it by only utilizing one plug. Okay, and so this energy field will interact with this energy field. Okay, you guys want to recreate the pyramids? This is how you do it. Okay, this is how you recreate it, plugging it into the wall. Right, when you plug it into the wall, it will nanocode everything. All right, and take care of you. But when you do it in infinity, you know that your shit isn't going to be hijacked. Okay, you have that sense of mind that it was your own creativity that made it, and that's why infinity is here. Okay, any plasmatic device out there that is being claimed to be made, okay, if you have a very specific schematic for it, the number of turns, the number of field interactions, or anything like that, it can be hijacked. Okay, for those that are just learning how to deal with their personal energies, okay, that's what we're doing here. Okay, now remember, because this is just a hot wire here, okay, this whole wire out here is gravitational. Okay, that means this whole energetic field for each one of these is gravitational, which means that they're all basically the same, or they are all the same polarities, okay, but they're the same polarity magnet on an energetic field. Okay, so you're playing with magnets here. Okay, and that's what we're doing. This is how you can position your units utilizing one of these. Okay, now you can do many. What do you got here? This is new for me, but makes sense. So we can build for each lamp a little device or put different devices in the house. Yes, you can make as many devices as you want. Okay. These are all very, very powerful. Okay. This is just off of one plug, okay, of an extension cord that had 3 plug adapters. Okay. So that's just based off of this one, and you can put more. Okay. Let's say you're putting, you want to put multiples. Okay, this is the multi-plug adapter box. Okay, it's got 6 plugs in it. Okay, that's what this is. All right, and currently the way I teach it is that we'll splice in right about here. Okay, and we'll put the unit in. Okay, that's how this one works. Well, you can do Let me undo that. Okay. If we put more than one splice in there, all right, let's say each one of these had 3 prongs, all right, where you could plug 3 units into this. All right, so now you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now you got 12 units. Okay, plugged into one wire. All right, and you can do all of these units, okay, at the same time, just by plugging a load into your plug. Okay, and if you put them long enough, if you put your cords long enough, all right, let's say you put it right down the center of your building or your vehicle, or, you know, let's say this is just a really long extension cord, right? This is your wall plug, okay, and this would be the female adapter end, right? Well, if you splice them in there, okay, we'll say that this is a single splice here. All right. Well, now you're making a much bigger infinity loop, because if you have one, you know, let's say it's got you plugged in 6 for each one of these. Imagine the power that you're exponentially doing here, but you're making each one of these quad core units, or these IQ units, okay? And right now everybody's using just one plug, okay? That's fine, you can use one plug, but if you use like an extension cord head or something like that, then you can plug more than one unit in, because you're not doing anything different. We're just adding more wire to, you know, that design, okay, to that positive wire, okay? If it got one here and it's, let me change my size here, okay? And you got this bunch of wire here, okay? And this is 150 feet, okay? And then you've got another one, okay, that's, let me get rid of that again. You put a splice in here, okay, now there's 3 plugs, right? So you've got 150, 150, 150, right? Then you come back through here again and just splice another one, okay? And it's got 3 plugs on it, okay? Again, that's another 150. 150 feet, 150 feet, 150 feet, okay? So this is how you're going to create the multiple field interactions needed to create matter, okay? And then this went up to the light, right? We'll call that a light bulb. Okay, this is the load. Okay, and so if this again was just 10 feet distance that we needed to travel, okay, now we're going to add 150 9 times. Okay, so now we've gone 1,340 is the potential difference model. I don't know if there's a a scale for induction out there, but if there is, then we just need to change the polarity to it to a negative polarity. But this is how you're going to get it, okay? Your units, okay, like the ones we just built for the IQ, each one of those is a quad core on the inside, okay? From the central core, that's 4 field interactions times 4 capacitors, okay? That's 16 field interactions, all right? The outside had 7 rings. It's supposed to have 6, but it had 7 with 4 field interactions inside, so that was 28. And so the outer ring was 28, and the inner core was smaller than the outer ring, so it can contain the energy, okay? And in doing so, each one of those little units is going to put off its energy field, all right? So now it's got to travel 1,350 feet, 1,340 feet further, okay, as a positive, okay, or the hot wire. This energy here that you've just added to it and you organized it, okay, has to travel this distance, whereas the return, that's right here, okay, or the neutral wire, okay, only has to travel 10 feet. Yes, they are. We're utilizing electricity principles right now because we built these devices backwards. That's why they're going to work and make sense. Okay? Does that make sense to you? All right. I teach you guys how to build them backwards so that there is no confusion as far as hooking them up, because we need results now. Okay? We don't need results later when somebody figures out how to reverse it. Okay? So I've figured out how to reverse it and make it, and that's what I show you guys. All right? Now, remember that 1,350 feet that the hot wire here has to travel, all right? Come on. It's got to travel that extra distance. And in doing so, those electrons got to speed up, okay? In order to be here at the source, okay? The cool thing about electricity and plasma is that it's got to be at the start and the finish at the same time. That's how it works, okay? So when you put power in here, okay, as you're hot, it's got to come out here at the same time, all right? You've got to have the balance between it. So it's got to travel that extra 1,350 feet, okay, or 1,340 feet, okay, that this one travels. And when it does so, it's going to create what we call an induction field, all right? Because the wires are nano-coated, they're not creating that induction field. They're creating the etheric field, okay? The plasma fields, the energetic fields, the aether fields, the principal fields. You're creating all of that energy, the mother plasma, right? That's what we're working with here. And that's why this works. When you add GANs to this, okay, the first thing that you're going to do when you make a unit, right? I'm going to make this little quad coordinate right here in the center, okay? And there's another one on that side here, on this side, one on the top, okay? And then we've got our little cords coming off this way, okay? So that's what it looks like. When you just nano-coat it, all right, the outer energy field is going to be the same, okay? It's going to broadcast out. All right, remember, and each unit from 150 feet produce plasma fields. Yeah, you're right, it does. Okay, it's the 150 feet is just telling you the distance that the electron energy has to travel, and that's why we're producing the energy. Okay, they have to meet up at the same time so that they can leave. Okay, at the load. Okay, they're going to meet up at the load at the same time. That's why the light will turn on. Okay, there's a demand there. Okay, and that's what we're working with. When you put a load on it, it creates a purpose for that plasma, and it's going to make the plasma move. All right, that's why it's important to keep a lamp on it, you know, or some sort of light that's, you know, that's constantly demanding energy. Okay, when you just nanocoat and you know, you put your capacitors inside, all right, you're creating all of these. Okay, for the IQ reactors or the 144 or, you know, whatever. Okay, if you've got, you know, like the Q144, for instance. Okay, what you're looking at. Okay, we're going to use the 144 because it's got 144 field interactions that you're working with, 145 actually with the total. So that was the misconception that we've gotten from these guys, okay, because their lack of knowledge. But you have to remember that inside of this energetic bubble here, okay, that you've created from your one unit, okay, let's say this is the 144, right? Okay, that means that there are 144 more bubbles that are forcing this energy outwards. Okay, this is what's causing your fields to expand even further. Okay, it's expanding it to cover it. When you get a certain number of capacitors, okay, built up, okay, the energy flow is enough to make these units off grid. Okay, you don't even need the connection to the house. Okay, but you're still working on building the field interactions. Okay, and this becomes off grid because the capacitors are able to power itself. Okay, and that's why we're doing it. They've got a total number of, you know, capacitor buildup, okay, but they're not really utilizing technology. They're using the simplest form possible to stack this energy up. Okay, well, you don't necessarily need that thing, and I don't even believe the guys that are putting this information out are even aware of the potentials with it. And you know, that's the danger of putting out the information that you don't understand. It's called the unintended consequences, and that's what the AI is banking on, is that you don't know the unintended consequences. You got to pay attention to everything that we're doing here. And when you make these devices, these are your field interactions here, one, okay, right here in the center. Those are all your field interactions. When you put a GANs on there, okay, on your nano coating, you change the outer field from red to blue, okay, from positive to negative. Okay, this energy field out here now becomes magnetical, okay, instead of gravitational. But the gravitational one is still there. That's why I didn't delete it. okay? And this is the layering process that we have, okay? If you were to put, let's say, your reactor inside of water, okay? We'll do a little Christmas ball type size here, okay? And you put water inside of this. If you put just fresh water in here, okay, then this has a positive polarity, all right? If it's salt water, it's got a negative, okay, for salt. And so the water around it is the conditions that you've set for the other GANs that you've put in there. And that's where we're creating the layers, right? So if you're trying to spin one of these reactors or do whatever, that's fine, okay? But you got to take and remember that you're creating layers of plasma inside, okay? That's where we're creating the layers using plasma. Now, if it was salt, the outer layer would be red, okay? And the inner layer would be blue. You see how things get reversed when you change the conditions? That's the difference in how things are going to work when they're positioning, okay, on these fields. And remember that this energetic field, okay, this energetic field is moving in this direction, okay? This one is moving to the right, and the one on the center is moving backwards, okay? And this is what you're working with. Yes, okay? And this we can use to activate or structure the water, yes, okay? But when you're spinning water, this is what Mr. Kesh has been talking about recently, okay? When you spin the water here, okay, and you put a GANs of some sort, or you put your nanomaterial inside of this, okay, it will find its own position, okay, but you got to spin it, okay? The water inside, the energy, the physical part of the water might move, but the energy is moving probably in the opposite direction, okay? Let me see here. Nope, it spins that way, okay? So the water is going to spin automatically, energetically, okay? Even if you just sat it there, okay? A static reactor, it will still, the energy still spins inside of these containers as long as this outer one, okay, is nano-coated. It's got to have the eggshell on it in order for the egg to grow, right? So make sure all of your stuff is nano-coated and you're good to go. So how is that? Does that answer your questions? Do you have a little bit clearer understanding? Awesome sauce. Do you have any others that you'd like to? Ask quickly. I know I didn't have a whole lot of video time, but I needed to do my expressing here. So, all right, sir. I'm going to go ahead and render this video. If you don't have any more questions, and we'll see you again Monday at the very latest. Okay, I'll be online, here and there, and when I am in line, I'll post in the chat so that we can get updates, and especially when I start creating. All right, man. I appreciate it. Go ahead and stop your recording.